Hey, I'm Nate Savage, and in this guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at how to use a capo. Now, I know that a lot of newer guitar players, and even those of us who've been playing for a long time, sometimes never really get around to understanding exactly how to use a capo. So in this lesson, it's going to be my goal to kind of demystify that for you so you can play as many songs in as many keys as possible, even if you only know a handful of chords. So what is a capo? It's really just a little clamp that you put across usually all 6 strings of the guitar to help you play in different keys, even if you only know a couple of chords. You may be asking yourself, well, why do I need to use a capo? And there are a few really common reasons. The first reason is this. If you're playing a song and singing to it, or if somebody else is singing to it, it might be too high or too low for them. So you can use a capo to transpose the song using the chords that you already know, and it makes it really easy instead of learning new voicings or new shapes to play a song in a different key. Reason number 2 that you might want to use a capo is if a song is written with a specific chord voicing in mind. You may want to stick to that voicing even if you change keys. For example, if a song's written in the key of G major, I may really want that chord voicing, but it might be too low, so I could use the capo to change keys while still getting that same vibe for that voicing of that G major chord. The next reason you might want to use a capo is if you're only comfortable playing open chords and you're not really great at playing bar chords, or if you just don't really want to fiddle around with all the energy it takes to play bar chords. A capo lets you play open chords in any key. Reason number 4 is if you're playing with another guitar player, you may want to use a capo to get some higher, more complementary chord voicings, especially if you have 2 acoustic guitars. So if you're both playing like open Gs, it can tend to get a little bit muddy or busy. If you use a capo, you can use a different higher chord voicing that's really complementary to what the other person is playing. Before we get into some examples of how to use a capo, I just want to go over the idea of chord movability with you. And all of our open chords like A, C, D, E, and G, they're all movable, and the best example of this are E and A shaped bar chords. Take your E major chord, open E, and if you move that up 1 step and put your bar down across all 6 strings, you have your E shaped bar chord, right? All we're doing is creating a movable nut with our index finger, right? Our index finger is basically doing the job of what a capo would be doing. And you can do this with your A chord too. If you do the same thing, bar it, move it up, you can move it all the way up and down the fretboard. So I can play a D, a C, a B flat, then the open A, all using that open A shape. Now you can do the exact same thing with your G, C, and D major shapes. So if I move that G up a whole step and then come back here and bar the 2nd fret, I'm creating another movable nut, or doing the job of a capo, but nobody wants to play that chord shape, right? That's really difficult. That's where a capo comes in handy. And you can do the same thing for your C major chord. You can do the same thing for a D. So all of these open chords, the core fundamental major and minor chord shapes, are all movable. There are a lot of different kinds of capos out there, and they range anywhere from, $10 or $15 all the way up to $100. I've seen them. And I have just a simple capo here, and I would recommend getting one that has an adjustment on it. That way you don't wear out your frets. If you get one that just clamps down really hard on your guitar, you can wear the frets out prematurely, so watch out for that. In order to use a capo efficiently, you're going to need to know the names of the notes on the low E string, at least for your G and E shapes, if you want to move those around using a capo. So let's take a look at this graphic. It just shows the names of the notes on the low E string. It's open E. There's an F on the 1st fret, and I'll just do the natural notes up to the 5th fret. Here's a G, and on the 5th fret is an A. And I'll tell you what, let's go up to the 7th fret and use this B. So it's really important that you get those notes memorized, at least the natural ones for now. So F, G, A, and B. Let's go through a musical example that will help you start understanding how to use a capo. I have a jam track for you that's in 3 different keys: G major, A major, and B major. It goes through a pretty simple 1 G major, 4 C major, 5 D major, and then back to the 1. progression. That's the progression. It's a 1, 4, 5 in whatever key you're in. In the key of G, that'll be one measure of G, one measure of C, one measure of D, and then another measure of G. And it just repeats over and over again. Let's play that real quick with no capo in the key of G. So that was pretty easy, standard open chords with the easy chord progression. But what if you were playing that same thing with a singer and it was too low for them, but you wanted to still use those open G chord shapes, or you just didn't want to play bar chords? Well, you could use a capo to play those exact same chord shapes in a new key. And to do this, you need to know the names of the notes on the low E string. We were in the key of G. Let's say we wanted to move it up one whole step to the key of A. Now, before we actually get the capo on there, let me tell you this. The lowest root note in this chord shape for a G is on the low E string on the 3rd fret right there. That's a G. So to find a place to play this in the key of A, we need to find an A on the low E string, and that's just up 2 frets on the 5th fret of the low E string. So that's going to be where you want to play your shape. So we moved up 2 frets, so we need to move the nut up 2 frets as well. So 1, 2, capo on the 2nd fret. And now if you play a G shape, you're still going to be playing a G shape, but now it's going to be an A chord. So I have the same jam track in the key of A for you. You're going to play the exact same shapes that you played the first time through. G for one measure, C for one measure, D for one measure. But this time you're going to be playing an A chord, a D chord, and an E chord using those shapes. Here you go. So hopefully you're starting to see how a capo and just some open chords will allow you to play in pretty much any key that you want. But let's do another example. What if the singer needed it another step higher? Well, you can move your capo up another 2 frets and then move your shape up another 2 frets. And now you would be playing a B major chord using the G shape because this low note on the 7th fret of the E string is a B. But let's say you didn't like that voicing that high up on the neck. What do you do then? Well, let's pretend for a minute that that last jam track in the key of A that we did, let's just play some open chords in the key of A and see what happens. I'm going to play an A, D, an E, and another A. Exact same thing as doing this, but I'm going to do it with open chords and no capo, and then I'll show you how to take those shapes up one whole step to play it in B. Here you go. So that was in the key of A using all open chords. But again, what if you needed to take it up to the key of B? Well, first of all, you're going to need to know the names of the notes on the A string. Our lowest root note on that A chord was the open A string, right? So that's going to be kind of our point of reference. All we need to do to play this in B is find a B on the 5th string and then put our capo on that fret. So you have your A, B flat, and the 2nd fret is a B, so that's our goal, right? So put your capo on, make sure to go right behind the fret. And another tip I have for you is generally if you have time, it's a good idea to tune after every time you put a capo on too. But now you can play that exact same A shape, and now you're playing a B chord using the A shape. So I can play this entire progression again, the A shape, D shape, E shape, and back to the A, and I'll be playing the same exact thing, only in the key of B. Let's try the jam track with that key. And this works with all the other open chords that I mentioned too. If you have your open E, you could put this on the 3rd fret, play your open E there, and be playing a G major chord because that note right there on the 3rd fret, low E string, is a G. It works with your D. If I had that same setup right here, capo on the 3rd fret, this would be an F chord because the 3rd fret of the D string is an F. And then the same thing for a C. If I left it here, I would be playing an E flat because this lowest root note I'm playing with my 3rd finger is an E flat. Let's go through a couple more examples just to make sure you have this down. We're going to concentrate on just the low E and A strings. In other words, we're going to be using just the G shape and the A shape. Now I want you to try to find a B flat note on the low E string. And we're going to be playing in the key of B flat major using the G chord shape. So there's a B flat right here on the 6th fret of the low E string. And since we're going to be using a G shape, that's going to be our lowest root note in the shape. So that's going to be the location for our G chord. But we need a bar back here on the 3rd fret or a movable nut, right? So we're just going to put the capo there and we're playing in B flat now. Let's go through another example. Let's play in the key of C major using our G chord shapes. So what you need to do is find a C note on the low E string. I'll give you a second to kind of figure that out. Take this capo off. There's a C note right here on the 8th fret of the low E. So that's going to be the foundation for your G chord. And then we need a movable nut back here, would be on the 5th fret. And now we're playing in C. Using all open G shapes, right? Let's change things up a bit now. Let's use our A chord shape to play in the key of D major. So we're going to need to find a D note on the A string. And this is going to be just like using a bar chord shape, an A bar chord shape, but we're using the capo instead, right? So where is that D on the A string? It's going to be right here on the 5th fret. So that's where we need to put our capo. And then just let your A chord fall into place and you'll be playing a D major chord now. Let's go through one more example. Try playing in the key of E major using this open A shape. Now, we were in the key of D major, so all we have to do is find an E note on the A string. And that's just going to be one whole step or 2 frets up on the 7th fret. So you can just move your capo there, play your A shape, and now you're playing in the key of E major. And that sounds very different from this. But functionally, it's the same chord. And you know what? I just thought of something. I'm going to do this right now. E major. E major using the D shape. E major using the C shape. E major using the A shape. And finally, E major using the G shape. So hopefully you're starting to see how knowing how to use a capo with your open chords allows you to play all kind of different voicings up and down the neck for any key that you want to play in. Now, I have a jam track for you, the one that I've been using throughout this entire lesson in the 3 keys that I mentioned, G major, A major, and B major. And it would be a really good exercise for you to try playing in these different keys using different open chord voicings up and down the neck. For example, I could play in the key of G major. No problem, right? All open chords. If I wanted to play in A using those same shapes, capo 2, same chords. If I wanted to play in B, same thing, capo 4, all those same open chords. And this may take a little bit of brain power, and you may have to have a diagram of the names of the notes on the low E, A, and D strings at first, but that's totally fine. I'm going to go through one more little example with you. If I wanted to play in the key of G major, but I wanted to use a D shape, I could have my capo on the 5th fret and just use an open D major chord shape. Same thing as a G chord, right? That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like or subscribe, or even better yet, leave a comment below if you have any questions about how to use a capo. And of course, you can always go to guitarlessons.com for more videos like this. I'll see you.